Hassan 3.
And thank you. Finally, Hassan, Amendment 3 to S1214 would incorporate my bipartisan bill, another bipartisan bill with Senator Braun, the Increasing Prescription Drug Competition Act, into the Retaining Access and Restoring Exclusivity Act. This amendment will improve drug competition by stopping brand name manufacturers from using patents on safety protocols to block generic drugs from coming to market. The FDA requires certain drugs to have in place risk evaluation and mitigation strategies known as REMS. These safety protocols are essential to protecting patient health. But drug companies are currently incentivized to exploit the system by patenting these REMS to gain additional months and years of exclusivity and, in turn, sky-high profits. There have been several high-profile cases of brand-name drug makers using REMS patent protections to block generic competitors, including a case in which the company Jazz Pharmaceuticals blocked a competitor from bringing a narcolepsy treatment to market, allowing Jazz to maintain a near monopoly on narcolepsy drugs. Our proposal would stop pharmaceutical companies from exploiting the patent and approval system by ensuring that a drug company cannot use a REMS patent to prevent or delay FDA approval or commercial sale of a competitive product. The legislation will also create a private cause of action for generic companies in cases where brand name companies do not appropriately identify a REMS patent when reporting to the FDA. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment, and I'll ask for a vote at the appropriate time.
Discussion on Hassan 3. Senator Braun.
This would be a discussion about all three proposals, and this would be directed at the ranking member. Do you, Senator Cassidy, outside of the process and the technicality of it, support the essence of these amendments?
In fact, I think I've voted for these in the past. I may have been a co-sponsor. But I will point on the one that was just referred. We still have not seen a score or technical assistance. And so it's one thing to be down dais, but it's another thing to be a ranking member to have to represent a score and a technical assistance process to all of you. That's my responsibility, and I've been unable to fulfill that responsibility.
And by the way, I'm going to be interested in that as well. You know that. But if all of that falls in place down the road, you technically support all three of these amendments, two of which you've supported before.
On a personal level, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay.
And again, if I may, Mr. Chair, the CBO did work with us, the FDA did work with us, the FDA supports this amendment, and the CBO has indicated that this would be cost neutral or, again, perhaps modest savings.
And if I may, why in the heck were they not shared? Was all that information not shared with us? That's the frustrating thing.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm having kind of a hard time understanding why this gang can't shoot straight. I mean, what kind of leadership do we have, Mr. Chairman? If you and the ranking member can't coordinate with the information we need prior to the vote being called. We all support these amendments, and yet you had an agreement with the ranking member that hasn't been followed through. Republicans did not receive the technical report, the CBO report. That's part one. Part two is we're having a hearing with PBMs after we mark up the bill on PBMs. That doesn't make any sense. And then we have another hearing this Thursday at 1 o'clock, which is, I've never heard of a hearing at 1 o'clock. I'm sure it's happened before, but it's kind of unusual, showing respect to other members. Some have to go long distances this weekend and are going to be gone. I can't quite figure out what's going on here. But coming back to the point at hand, I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do when there are three amendments I agree with, and yet the ranking member, the leader of my party on this committee, has said that this violates an agreement. What's happening?
What's happening is that members have a right to offer an amendment which is widely supported by members on both sides of the aisle. What's happened is there was a lot of discussion, and there was an agreement that there would certain amendments, Hassan amendments, Baldwin amendment, would not be part of the package, leaving them the right to go forward. What also happened is there was no discussion on two important amendments that will be discussed here after the discussion ended. That's what happened. And if you don't, I have disagreements with Senator Cassidy on his characterization of what happened, period.